Cartoon Network was a beloved channel where every kid was able to watch their favorite cartoon shows daily. The channel was so outstanding that nowadays when you speak to someone about what was their favorite things about their childhood, they most likely will say Cartoon Network and the shows that it produced, giving them a sense of nostalgia. But in recent times, as many of us grew older, most new kids a part of Gen Alpha just aren't watching Cartoon Network. And with recent news about the RIP Cartoon Network hashtag, you may ask, how did a Cartoon Network channel go from having a monopoly with cartoon shows that shaped millions of kids' childhood to barely even making the same AAA cartoon shows nowadays? Let's take a closer look. Cartoon Network was a cable television channel that launched in 1992 and was owned by Warner Bros. Discovery. It was a flagship that oversaw childhood classics like Boomerang, Adult Swim, and even Toonami. During its early years, Cartoon Network was able to benefit from having access to a large collection of animated programming, including the libraries of Warner Bros., which helped the channel to air Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, The Flintstones, Scooby-Doo. During the late 90s, Cartoon Network was able to pretty much step up their game and was able to produce notable shows like Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and even codenamed Kids Next Door. Cartoon Network dominated the space. With just these shows alone, while the next generation kids were being born, it gave them enough time to always go back into their collection and use these reruns just to buy some time to create more modern cartoon shows. And for a while, this strategy did work. And during the beginning of the 2010s, we were able to receive the big three cartoon shows, with Steven Universe as a runner-up. You see, Cartoon Network has had many small but few big controversies, spanning from show cancellations to bomb scares that caused them to pay $1 million to the city of Boston and another to the Department of Homeland Security, which in result caused the president of Cartoon Network, Jim Samples, to step down, replacing him with Stuart Snyder. This particular president will single-handedly cause Cartoon Network's second most controversy during the 21st century, and that is his agenda to push live-action programming. When Snyder became the executive VP and COO of Turner Animation in 2007, he made the shift toward live-action and reality shows, stating that we did all the research in terms of what kids wanted to watch, what they were watching on TV at the time, on our network and across all networks. Live-action shows were beginning to be produced, and for a while, Cartoon Network was able to find some sort of success from it. Some shows that even if you had a bias towards live action, you still enjoyed it, like Destroy Build Destroy, Do What Would Happen, or even Hole in the Wall. These new span of game shows were pretty much played throughout Cartoon Network until the 2010s came around. But as Cartoon Network started to produce more live action shows, the quality of these game shows drastically declined. They became immediate flops. It wasn't until after the success of Regular Show and Adventure Time that showed the complete and total failure of Snyder's live action initiatives, which would evidently force him to reconsider his position of Turner Animation Unit. Many people point fingers at Snyder as the one who started the beginning of the end for Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network was somehow able to manage to still be on top. There was no competitor that could go against Cartoon Network. Even Disney Channel and Nickelodeon were starting to see a decline in viewership during this time. It wasn't until Regular Show, Adventure Time, and The Amazing World of Gumball began to wrap up their finales that Cartoon Network just slowly started to die. And what's weird about this period of time of Cartoon Network is that they didn't do anything to save themselves. As a matter of fact, when you look at the shows that Cartoon Network produced from the 2010s all the way up until now, compared how it was to the 90s into the 2000s, they just slowly started not producing any cartoons. It's almost like when their big shows finally ended, they froze up and didn't have a clue what to do. It was so bad for Cartoon Network that instead of using all their resources to make more original animated shows, they decided to go back into the past and look at their old AAA shows and create spin-offs like Teen Titans Go and Total Drama Rama. And it's a slap to the face to the original viewer base who was watching cartoons. And while Cartoon Network did find little but barely success to new shows that they were producing, the deadline for cable television was coming up, and many people were switching from cable TV to streaming services, which gave better content for the viewers. For just a set price, you could watch hundreds of movies within an instant. And to make matters even worse for Cartoon Network, that will soon appear and take over the whole world: anime. It wasn't mainstream as it is now, even during the days when some anime were playing on Adult Swim. And now you have many kids, including adults, cosplaying as their favorite characters from these shows. The differences between the American storytelling in cartoons and the Japanese storytelling in cartoons stood out, and will take the title of being the new cartoon for everyone. Cartoon Network will never be able to recover from the coma it's in now, and always being known as just that channel that gave millions of kids nostalgia.